commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And I'm Rob Astorino in for Steve Malzberg today on Newsmax TV, and it's good to have you with us. So it's time now for the panel, and we'll talk about what we just talked about HUD. Columnist for Breitbart.com and American thinker, C. Edmund Wright, and the president of the Galen Institute, Grace Marie Turner. Both of you, thank you for joining us.
Nice to be with you, Rob.
Glad to be here, yeah.
So Grace Marie, tell us a little bit about what you just heard. So I am under attack personally. Westchester County, where I represent, is under attack because of an agreement reached by my predecessor in 2009 with the Department of Housing and Urban Development and Justice Department. They do not like that it turns out by all the studies, including by the federal monitor, who is court appointed really through HUD, that is overseeing this, that says there are no exclusionary zones in Westchester. There is equal opportunity for everybody. The biggest problem is economics, and we understand that. It's a very high tax county, very high tax state, and it's not easy. The Clintons, who live in Chappaqua, and Andrew Cuomo, the governor, who lives in Newcastle as well, are in a community that is under attack. I don't think they would say this is exclusionary zoning, though, and if they do, then maybe they should speak out about it. But this is the worst overreach, is it not?
Oh, absolutely, no question. When the federal government starts to try to get involved in local zoning laws, I mean, that is just such an incredible violation of a principle of federalism. But you know what this is about. This is part of the larger agenda of wealth redistribution. They don't want to have Westchester County be more affluent than other counties in the state or anywhere nearby. They want a level playing field, even if it means that everybody is poor.
See, Edmund Wright, are they moving people around on a chessboard, telling them where you should live and where you have to live?
Oh yeah, micromanagement from Washington for sure, and it is wealth redistribution. It's social engineering. It's more of hope and change, fundamental transformation of the country. Obviously, HUD getting involved in local zoning is absurd. We've seen when the federal government gets involved with housing, and then they start putting out regulations on mortgages and everything else. It's a disaster. And of course, the same is going to happen here.
And I have to say too, one of the treasures of this country is the ability of people to live where they want to live and to be able to aggregate. One of the treasures of New York City is Chinatown and Little Italy. There are people who've come together because of ethnic and language similarities. They have wonderful restaurants as a result. People choose to live in particular counties because they can live with others that share their values and that share their common heritage. That could easily be destroyed, where we wind up so homogenizing this country that we lose a lot of the cultural identity that really makes us this wonderfully diverse nation.
Well, here's the crazy part. Westchester County, 1 million people. We are the 4th most diverse county in all of New York State. We are tied with Manhattan or New York County in the percentage of our diversity. We have 22% of our population are Hispanic, 15% African American. It's the 8th largest Jewish county in America. We have a growing population of Asian Americans, Indian Americans, etc. And yet none of this matters. And in all those 31 communities that are deemed to be exclusionary by HUD, there was a 56% increase in the Black and Hispanic population in the time before this settlement, before the federal government came in and made their demands. So it happened naturally. People moved where they could afford to move or where they chose to move.
And this is really like
Isn't that what it's about?
So many things. It gets down to economic issues. If we could get the economy moving again, people would become more prosperous. They'd have the ability to move into areas that they may not be able to afford. Now, it's all about economic growth. And when we see 2.6 of negative growth rate in the economy, we can see what the problem is. You are not going to fix that with more of this destructive social engineering.
Well, isn't this also, some have said, it's reverse discrimination, because you're forcing the movement of people. You're forcing people to move where they may not even choose to live. But there is no barriers to anyone within the zoning of Westchester County and basically throughout New York to move anywhere they want to move. The barriers are economic, as I said, and anyone can choose to live where he or she wants to go. Look, there are plenty of places in my own county in Westchester that I cannot afford to live in, including where Hillary and Bill Clinton live in Chappaqua. I just can't afford it. It doesn't say anything about that town other than it's expensive.
So maybe we need a federal program so that you can move into Chappaqua. You know, should it work in both directions, not just one direction?
Yeah, you know, Rob.
Are you familiar? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead. I was going to talk to you about disparate impact, which is very much a big part of this argument of what HUD, and they've done it with the Labor Department and many other departments, are trying to succeed in using statistics. And what HUD has basically said is, if a community like Newcastle, where Andrew Cuomo lives and where the Clintons live, is overwhelmingly white, therefore they are potentially segregated and discriminatory, and thus federal intervention is needed, and the community must describe and explain how they will attack that to overcome the problems that exist, where none exist. And that's exactly what we're dealing with in Westchester, and this is what is called disparate impact. It's guilt by statistics.
Yeah, well, exactly. And again, you know, Westchester County is under attack because Westchester County is sort of a lightning rod. I mean, when people think of that, nationwide, it's known as a rich white county. Now, you quoted some statistics that show it's very diverse, but again, I think that's to miss the point. This is not only social engineering and wealth redistribution, you know, it's also a political agenda. Just, you know, pushing the notion again by government that that there's something wrong with an area that's too white and too rich just because it's too white and too rich. You know, so that's the insidiousness of the agenda here.
And the interesting thing is, it's not too white and it's not too rich. We've got all different kind of diversity in our county, and we're proud of that, by the way, but that doesn't mean anything to the social engineers at HUD. We got more, so stick around. This is a perfect time to think about what we just talked about and how frightening parts of this country are becoming with this administration. So, part 2 of the Malzberg panel coming up right after this break. Don't go anywhere.